Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Now, I just want to talk about something which I've kept under wraps for a long time. Because I don't like to defame other people, but for many years, I'm talking about in the early 2000s, about 2006, 2007, there was a little clique within the numismatic or the South African Collectors Society who targeted me because I had challenged the author of Hearn's books on South African coins about the authenticity of the claim that the Griquaton tokens were South Africa's first circulating currency. Now, we're talking about coins that were issued by the London Missionary Society, not by government, by the London Missionary Society, and brought into this little territory called Griquaton. And believe me, nobody, not Pierre Henry, not the South African Numismatic Society, nobody knows Griquaton better than me. For example, I have actually climbed up on top of the water tank west of Griquaton and looked out over the view. I've got a video about that. It's on YouTube. Down the bottom, over there, you can see Leeuwenskuil, which is where the original springs of Griquaton were. This is where the kraals were in Virgil's book. There's a road that comes from Griquaton, from Kimberley to Griquaton. You see a truck going along it. It goes all the way through. There's the top of this water tank tower. They got everything here, even lightning rods. My God, we're so bloody high up here. Anyway, let's see if I can find the old hanging tree from here. Yep, I can see it. It's down in that area over there. Yeah, just above that, looks like a race course. You can see the tree behind that greenhouse. See if I can zoom in on it. I'll just zoom out so I can see what I am. Unfortunately, the lights are that road. I've got to zoom into there. There's a race course. Up there, that's where the hanging tree is there. Just above that green roof in the center of the picture. That's a galgboom, where Griquas in the 1800s hung people who were convicted of murder, etc. Okay, I think that's enough of the video show. I've got some photos to take from a spot that Virgil would love to have been at, and then I'm going to come back down this staircase, and I'm going to show you the staircase. You can see why I call it fairly freaky. Have a look at this. Have a look at this staircase. There it is. There it is down there. How's that for a staircase? Huh? And then that's only half, and the other half goes down from the other side there. You can see how high I am. It's a long way down from here. And this is the scariest climb I've ever done. You can see the kids over there are getting quite excited. Until not many people climb up here. You have to look at the handrails and you can see that the corrosion hasn't been touched for a long time. So here we go. Let's zoom into these kids. There you are. They're all coming to have a look, see what I'm up to. Where the hell have I done? There we are. There. They're all coming to see what's going on up here. I think I'm going to jump off or something. Not bloody likely. Anyway, there we go. This is Griqua Town. There we go. More of the kids in Griqua Town and more of the scenery. I'll just scan through. I'm going to stand up while the wind's gone down. There we are. I'm right in the middle of this water tank now. Okay, here's the view from up here. Scanning right around from south, going towards the north. There we are. There's that metal rail across to the other side. And that's the road going towards Uppington. And not only that, but I've spent time with Waterboer, a direct descendant of the Griquas at Griqua Town at the time when the Griqua Town tokens were supposed to have actually circulated. Not only that, back in 2006 and 2007, I've got photos and videos of myself in the Mary Moffat Museum at Griqua Town with the curator back then, Hetta Hager. Lovely lady. She'd been there for about 30 years looking after the museum, but of course under the ANC government she was kicked out and they put the cleaner in as her replacement. And that was in about 2009 or 2010. But this is how history gets rewritten. So the long and the short of this is that through all my research, through all my discussions with Griquas at Griqua Town, with like Waterboer, who's the chief of the Griquas, with Hetta Hager, who said she'd never ever seen one of these coins come over the desk at the museum, or the Mary Moffat Museum, over 30 years, never seen one. But she'd heard about them. Yes, she'd heard about them, and that was about it. Doesn't sound like something that's circulated very widely, does it? Well, in a few seconds I'll explain to you why. So, getting back to my meeting with Hetta Hager and meeting with Waterboer and meeting with all the Griqua who are related to what was going on in Griqua Town and their history, and my book that I published in 2007 called Children of the Mist, which was basically 30 years of study leading up to the publication of Children of the Mist, the Lost Tribe of South Africa, the Griqua people.
Goeienaand, hoop jy het 'n goeie groen maandag agter die rug, want die hele land is mos deesdae groen getoe. Behalwe die goeie reëns wat in sommige landsdele geval het, is daar natuurlik die springbokke. Ai, hoe lekker daarom om hulle oorwinning met soveel oorgawe en trots te kan bly vier. En toe waai die hare boonop in die kattegeveg tussen die leeu's en die cheetahs. Nee, dis nie waaroor ons vanaand verslag doen nie, maar wel oor nog twee aardsvyande, wille honde en hyenas. Belinda Shaw vertel ook meer oor 'n interessante boek en daar's heelwat nuus in Ntokozo se bosbrokkies. Amazing what one individual can do to make a difference. Congratulations. The record of South Africa's cultural history is slowly being rewritten to reflect our rich cultural diversity. But there is one story that spans 300 years of history, involves a large percentage of our population, and has never been told. The one about the Griquas. 'n Nuwe boek is in 'n knushoekie by 'n wynlandgoed in Stellenbosch bekendgestel. Die boek gee uiteindelik erkenning aan mense wat tot nou toe meesal deur geskiedenisskrywers geïgnoreer was. Dis die Griqua, en vir die skrywer Scott Belson is hulle die kinders van die mis.
This coin I have around my neck is actually the first indigenous coin in South Africa, and it was used by the Griqua in East Griqualand in the 1870s. And it was that coin that actually stimulated my interest in the Griqua people. The Griqua people, the heritage is actually right through South Africa, in the most surprising of areas. Nelson Mandela has got Griqua heritage, and there are, for example, a large number of white people who do not realize that they've got Griqua heritage. I've been researching the Griqua people now for 30 years. Not full-time, part-time, but in the last couple of years it's been very intense. I mean, they were the Voortrekkers, not the Voortrekkers. They were in central South Africa generations before the first Boers went through the Orange Free State. When they trekked across the Ongeluksnek, that was the most amazing trek. It totally devastated the people. And yet that impact on such a large number of people has really never been described before in our history. The trouble is that the Griqua don't even know their own history. And that's why I've donated large numbers of the book to the Griqua communities at Kokstad and Kranshoek, because they are embracing the book and they want to find out about their own history. So that has been a big problem. The issue has been that they don't read and write much when it comes to recording their history, so there has been this big hole.
Eers 'n kort seremonie, 'n paar toesprake, 'n boeke teken, en dan die onthaal, egte Griqua-styl. Scott se boek is deur die Griqua gemeenskap omarm. Hulle hoop dit word wyd gelees en dat meer mense erkenning sal gee aan die Griquas, wat van Suid-Afrika se eerste inwoners was.
Een belangrike aspek wat die boek ook baie duidelik behoort uit te lig, is die feit dat mense in Suid-Afrika nie almal te alle tye bewus is daarvan dat die inheemse Khoi en San mense die eerste werklike inwoners van Suid-Afrika was nie, en die werklike aboriginale mense van Suid-Afrika is nie. Dis 'n konsep wat nog vreemd op die ore val van baie Suid-Afrikaners. En dit is nodig dat hulle hierdie tipe geskiedenis aan blootgestel word, sodat hulle kan die ware konteks van Suid-Afrika se samelewing verstaan. Ons kan ook, soos wat die boek het baie duidelik maak, vir Suid-Afrika sê dat baie van julle daar buite, deur julle are vloei die bloed van die Griqua.
Van die beraamde 200.000 Khoikhoi in die Kaap was daar teen die jaar 1800 net 32.000 oor, die gevolg van ongenaakbare onderdrukking. Children of the Mist vertel die storie van duisende Suid-Afrikaners wat vir veel te lank 'n miskende groep mense was.
Well, I put out books which said, hey, the Griquaton tokens, they're never circulated. They're not part of, South African real numismatic history. All they are is like little symbolism coins. It's like a little badge. They don't mean anything. They weren't actually used as coinage. But believe it or not, in some quarters still in South Africa, thanks mainly to Brian Hearn, who brought out those books about coin values, and I have no beef with Brian Hearn, but the fact that his ego was so big that he couldn't see that he had effed up when it came to the Griquaton tokens. That when this little coin dealer down in Cape Town, his name is Pierre Henry Notier. He lives in somewhere just north of Cape Town, but he produced a rebuttal to my argument that the Griquaton tokens were not South Africa's first indigenous coinage. And of course, because Brian Hearn played such a prominent role in the main branch of the South African Numismatic Society in Johannesburg, he was given an honorary award for producing something that I could have done in a week. Now, I'd spent years and years and years trying to get to the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is quite simple. And that is that the Griquaton tokens never circulated. Not one. Not one. They were rejected. They were sent back to the UK to be melted down because Britain needed the silver. This is back in when? About 1820, 1821. They're a complete and utter failure. Okay? So it's like trying to sell ice to the Eskimos. You know, forget it. They didn't want it. And in their particular situation, where food and water and the essentials of life are important, and they had no store in which to go and trade said Griquaton tokens. So, when I launched my book in 2007, that's the book Children of the Mist, The Lost Tribe of South Africa, talking about the Griqua. This is a couple of the responses I received from the Griqua people in all quarters. Here come the videos.
It's recording. He wrote the book on the Griquas, and he has come to launch it in South Africa, and he has stopped off in Kokstad, and it is part of the museum's 25th birthday celebrations. For those of you that haven't met Scott, some of you met him last year. I'll just say a few words about him so you sort of know his background and why he's here. Scott was born in Tanganyika, grew up there, went to school in South Africa at Michael House, and in the 1970s he worked in a Copo in Antakulu, and that's how he became interested in this part of the world. His interest started in trade tokens, and that then led to interest in the Griqua, and he's been doing research on the Griqua now for 30 years, and this has culminated in this book, Children of the Mist. And he's come to Kokstad to give some of these books to schools, to principals, to the Griqua Church, in thanks for the help that has been given to him while writing the book. So thank you very much, Scott, for coming all the way up here.
Thank you.
Scott Balsam gaan vra om sy skenking van 50 boeke aan die Griqua Nasionale Konferensie te oorhandig, elkeen van die 50 aan ons groot mense. Sommige van hulle wil nie ons moet sê hulle is ou mense nie, nou sê ons maar hulle is groot mense. En al daardie boeke gaan ons weer voor die seremonie eindig terugneem, want ons wil dit graag vir die Griqua Nasionale Konferensie bewaar, sodat ons kan dit gebruik vir ons studente, vir ons jong mense, om inligting te kry, om navorsing te doen oor hulle eie geskiedenis. So ongelukkig sal die boeke nou nie eers aan die ou mense geskenk kan word om huis toe te neem nie, maar hulle gaan die trotse ontvangers van hierdie boeke word. Mr. Balsam will hand over 50 books to the elders sitting down there, and they will only be people who receive the book, and they're going to be honored by receiving the book out of the hand of the author himself. And after the ceremony, they will hand the books back to us because we want to do this distribution of the books in a very orderly manner. So ons gaan nou vir meneer Balsam vra om hierdie boeke te oorhandig, en daar is nog 50 boeke wat hier in 'n kartondoos agter my staan, wat nie uitgehandig gaan word nie, maar wat deel van die geskenk is. Met ander woorde, meneer Balsam het nie 50 boeke geskenk nie, maar 100. En net 50 gaan ons nou uitdeel en die ander 50 staan hier agter ons. So ons het 100 boeke verniet gekry. Maar soos ek sê, as ons nou vir 100 mense hier daai boeke gaan gee, wat van die duisende daar buite? So ons wil dit moet op 'n ordelike manier hanteer. Baie dankie. We've been struggling all the time to complete this project, who cost us millions of rands. But it is a project that we envisage that it will serve the purpose of preserving our rich heritage, our rich culture, and that we will use the project to introduce people from all walks of life to the Griqua and Khoikhoi traditions and cultures and history. We couldn't complete this project, and we just received very good news this afternoon from one of the government departments that they will now assist us by donating to us 5 million rands to complete the Ratelgat cultural project. Ons het so 'n week of 2 gelede 'n delegasie gelei na die minister van
Ons sal almal staan en ons sal op aandag kom onderwyl ons van wy met die volkslied.
if you couldn't eat it, if you couldn't barter it, then, you know, bingo. Well, move back to 1874, when the same Griqua community, and this is where my life and the Griqua family's life overlaps. Back in the 1830s, before 1874, back in the 1830s, the Adam Koch family, who were pissed off with the Waterboer family, had kind of taken control of Griqua town, moved into the completely open area known today as the Free State. And they had their problems with the Voortrekkers coming through, so they moved to Philippolis, which you'll find on the map. It's in the southern part of the Free State. And they were there for a couple of years before Sir George Grey, the British governor, said, hey guys, I know we've really done the wrong thing by you, and they did, believe me. But anyway, he said, look, I've got a new home for you. You just got to go over Lesotho, which was then called Basutoland, and go to a place called No Man's Land. And the reason it was called No Man's Land, and I'm not joking, is because under the Zulu warriors, the entire area south of what is today KwaZulu-Natal, that's north of Ikopo, had been completely decimated. And the Pondos had run off to the coastline, South Broom, the coastline of southern Natal. And of course the Xhosa had gone right down to the Great Fish River, leaving this whole huge area between the Umzimkhulu River to Ugu completely open. And what had happened back then, I'm talking about the 1840s, is that anyone traveling through what is today around Kokstad, going up to, let's say, Pietermaritzburg, or Kokstad going down to Port Elizabeth, that central area, the no man's land, was basically a bandit zone. And if you try to go through there, more likely than not, you were going to be attacked, vandalized, and whatever. So Sir George Grey thought, I can fix this. I'm going to send the Griquas who are stuck at Philippolis to this territory and give it to them, which he did. He did. So the Griquas traveled over the Drakensberg on a horrific journey over what's called the Ongeluksnek. And it's the Sotho's that came through and stole their cattle, and the damage that was done to their ox wagons, it was devastating. But they eventually got to a place right next to Kokstad called Mount Currie. And in fact, if you use Google Maps and you zoom into Kokstad and then you move slightly northeast, I guess it is, northeast, not far, just a couple of kilometers, you'll see some trees, you'll see where Mount Currie is, and you'll see there the outline. You can still see it today, the outline of the original buildings of Mount Currie. But basically, a few years later, if you read Douwer's book, which is all about the Griquas in that area, you'll see that they moved back to Kokstad after a tremendous amount of pushing and basically saying, hey guys, you got to go there, otherwise you. So the Griquas moved to Kokstad. But during this period, and I'm talking post-1853 when they moved into Mount Currie, a trading store was established by the Strachan & Co. family. Right up at Umzimkhulu, which is on the Umzimkhulu River just south of Ikopo. And that's where I worked at Barclays Bank. And it was because of my work at Barclays Bank I found out about this, and it was totally coincidental. My interest was in numismatics. But when I heard about the story of what the Strachan firm did, it like just blew my mind. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. At Ikopa branch, I was told to go and work at the Umzimkhulu agency, which was about a 15-kilometer, 20-kilometer stretch from Ikopa, going south, go across the Umzimkhulu River, and the actual agency was like the size of a toilet, or maybe twice the size of a toilet. And I had a little space with a piece of glass which a bullet wouldn't have stopped, and 2 meters from that was the outside where the queue lined up, and alongside me was a fellow who did the inquiries. And I've told this story a few times, but I just want to put this on record because it's so important. So, on my first day working at the agency at Umzimkhulu, there was a queue when I opened of about 20 black people waiting to draw cash or deposit cash or checks or whatever. And as I opened this he was nearly bald-headed, but he had sort of like reddish curly hair on, obviously Irish descent or Scottish or British descent, and his name was Ken Strachan. And Ken Strachan, instead of waiting in the queue, came right to the front, put his bag of coins in front of me and said, "Good morning." And I said to Ken Strachan, "Good morning, sir, but there is a queue. You better go to the back." I hadn't realized back then that I was putting the wealthiest man in the Transkei to the back of the queue. Anyway, Ken Strachan went to the back of the queue. And about 15 minutes later, when I was serving him and we were going through his stuff, I said, "Oh, you're from Strachan & Company. I've heard about you through our branch at Ikopa." He said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Thank you for doing what you did. I won't be coming here again, but, you know, I've got to understand that times are changing." So I counted all his money, and while I was counting his money, I said to him, "Do you ever come across any of the old South African silver pieces like the tikkie, the sixpence, the shilling, the florin, the half crown, the crown? Because if you do, I would love to buy them from you." And he looked at me and his eyes lit up and he said, "Son, I've got something much more exciting than that. I have in my safe here at Umzimkhulu, at our store, a huge number of historic trading tokens that were used in South Africa from 1874 through to 1932, when token coins were outlawed in this country." And I just looked at him with these big eyes and I said, "Please." So, bottom line was that I used to go down to Strachan's store every Wednesday afternoon, and I'd meet Ken, and Ken would let me into the safe, and they had these black boxes. I remember they were about the size, basically half the size of a shoebox, okay? They were metal, but they were completely filled with these Strachan tokens. And what I did, and I told Ken what I was doing, what I did was I went through and actually documented one of 16 different types of tokens. And it was at this time that I told the local numismatic society in Pietermaritzburg, the Pietermaritzburg Numismatic Society, what I was doing. So they were very excited by the whole thing, and one fellow in particular, Dr. Clive Graham, he became a professor at the University of Natal. His area was physics and, dealt with chemicals and stuff like that, which is very fortuitous for me, but that's not for me to go into any further detail at this stage. So I told them what was happening, and they said, oh, that's fantastic, let us know how it goes. So over 6 months, I went through all these little black metal canisters. I took 3 or 4 every week back to my house. My bath was completely fucked, quite honestly, because from being beautifully white, it became kind of black, okay? Because I used to clean these coins in the bath just using normal water and a brush. But I counted over 20,000 of these coins. And this was only probably a quarter of the coins that were actually issued, because the Strachan coins have been found all over the place. But the origin and the history is what's important. So when I started this video, I was talking about the Griqualand tokens, where you had this London Missionary Society with this grand idea of producing the Griqualand tokens for use for the Griquas, and this little community called Griqualand never got off the ground. They were all sent back to the UK. Whereas for something like 60 years, from 1874 to 1932, these Strachan tokens in 4 different sets. And I'll actually put a link down below this video so you can actually find out more about this. They were issued and used right across the entire territory of East Griqualand. The size of, basically the same size as Ireland, okay? If you look at Ireland and you superimpose that on the area of Transkei and the area that the Strachan tokens were used, you get an idea of how well they were accepted for over 60 years. So, Dr. Clive Graham and I, back in the late 1970s, let me get that right, back in the late 1970s, we co-authored a book called Kangeley, The Trade Tokens of Strachan and Company. And we released that book, and that book will be found in most libraries across South Africa that have any note. And as a result of that, I met people like Dr. Frank Mitchell, who wanted to meet the man who had actually found South Africa's first indigenous coinage. And those were the good old days of South African numismatics, where you didn't get these guys with their little agendas on the side and their big egos that didn't want to be, knocked because they had said for years in books, like Brian Hearn, that the Griqualand tokens were South Africa's first indigenous coinage. Now, it was a couple of years after that this little, I don't know what to call him, but he's one of these little wannabe, if he could have been, if he had been, but he never was a bee. His name was Pierre Henry Nortje. he decided that he would challenge the whole idea that these Strachan and Co tokens were South Africa's first indigenous coinage. And to basically underwrite his thesis or his basis of his suggestion was that he claimed that I was basically using that to enrich myself. This from a guy who basically isn't a collector. He just resells stuff on bid or buy in South Africa. And as a result of this, maybe a weekend paper he put together, he got a wonderful award from the major numismatic society in South Africa, in Johannesburg, where Brian Hearn just happened to be one of the key people. Meanwhile, what happened to me? Well, I'll tell you. Earlier, the Peter Pietermaritzburg Numismatic Society had actually given me an honorary membership because of my work on the Strachan and Co. But when I came out and said, hey, this piece of paper this pamphlet that Pierre Henry Nortje put out is a load of crap, and I gave all the evidence, two things happened. Bid or Buy threw me off their channel. I could no longer buy or sell stuff on Bid or Buy. And the second thing that happened was that the Pietermaritzburg Numismatic Society threw me out as an honorary member. I got a very curt email from the secretary, who I knew, really nice guy, and I think he was really pissed off that it happened, but he said, look, I'm sorry, Scott, we're throwing you out because of this fight with Pierre Henry Nortje. Now, this happened 20 years ago, and I know it sounds like I'm bringing up old shit, but I've been sitting here and, I've just kind of just let it happen. And what I thought today is I'd go to Grok. You know, the artificial intelligence program that Elon Musk has set up as part of X. And I asked Grok a few questions. And I'm going to attach to this email or this video basically what Grok said about my question about what was South Africa's first indigenous coinage. And after asking a very simple couple of questions about what is the actual original South African indigenous coinage, it came to the same conclusion as I did. And it's interesting because its first response is based on Wikipedia. Okay, it's not based on anything, it's based on Wikipedia, where it suggests that, yeah, it was the Grytquitine coins, although it wasn't great. But when I asked a couple of simple probing questions, it said, whoa, Houston, we have a problem. This is how completely nebulous artificial intelligence is. It really doesn't deep dive. It doesn't get the full context. It works on keywords, but you'll see for yourself what happens. I've got all the text that follows in the piece that happens here. But Grok confirms the first indigenous coinage in South Africa were the Strachan and Co. tokens. And for those of you who are lucky enough to have a set, congratulations. The last set that I knew of that was sold for about $4,000 US. And I have no doubt, seeing that there are less than 100 of these sets in the world today, that the next set will probably sell at double that price. Here comes Grok's perspective on that very, very issue. And for the so-called numismatic heavyweights in South Africa, shame on you. I've been treated like a pariah since I actually came out with the truth about the Strachan and Co. and their role, and been attacked by people like this grub Pierre Henry Nortje, and of course his cohorts like Brian Hearn in Johannesburg. And if you're a big fan of Brian Hearn, I'm sorry, but when the shit sticks, it sticks. And I'm not going to put up what Grok has to say. This is artificial intelligence has to say about the subject of what is South Africa's first international, or what is South Africa's first indigenous coinage. Here it comes. Please remember to subscribe to this channel to be kept informed, and have a great day.
Take a little time to think things over. I better read between the lines in case I need it when I'm older. Mountain I must climb feels like the world upon my shoulder. Through the clouds I see love shine. It keeps me warm as life grows colder. In my life there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can got nowhere left to hide. It looks like love has finally found me. In my life, there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. I can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I wanna wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel. I wanna. Gotta take a little time to think things over. I better read between the lines in case I need it when I'm older. Mountain I must climb feels like the world upon my shoulder. Through the clouds I see love shine. It keeps me warm as life grows colder. In my life there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. Can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. I'm gonna take a little time to look around me. I've got nowhere left to hide. It looks like love has finally found me. In my life, there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. Can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel. I wanna. I've gotta take a little time to think things over. I better read between the lines in case I need it when I'm older. mountain I must climb. Feels like the world upon my shoulder. Through the clouds I see love shine. It keeps me warm as life grows colder. In my life, there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. Can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I wanna know what love is. I want you to show me. I wanna feel what love is. I know you can show me. I'm gonna take a little time to look around me. I've got nowhere left to hide. It looks like love has finally found me. In my life, there's been heartache